Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Monkey Patching Podcast, where we go bananas about all things China, influencers, and more. My name is Murillo, joined by my great friend, Bart. Hey, Bart.
Hey, Murillo.
How you doing? I am doing good, A year older, as you know, so still adjusting to the old age, but doing good.
Yeah,
doing good.
now you're 30 now.
Mm-hmm.
How does it feel?
New decade. It feels good. I feel like I feel good, but I feel like I should be having a midlife crisis or third life crisis or whatever. But I'm not. I'm still strong, ignoring the haters, you know.
It'll come. It'll come.
Look, speaking from experience, like, don't rush. You'll get there. You'll get there. How are you doing, Bart?
I'm doing good. Little bit of a hectic week, but that's okay. It's good to have a bit of a hectic week every now and then. And
Sure.
also a hectic week in news, but that's every time, right? Every
Yeah.
episode we have, it's been a hectic week in
It's
AI
true.
news.
It's true. AI, like it's the world goes the world's going bananas about these things, pun intended. So what is the first thing? Should you start or should I start?
I'll give it a go. Google rolled out a DeepMind built image editing model inside the Gemini app, aimed at keeping people and pets looking consistently like themselves. It supports blending photos, multi-turn tweaks, and playful scenarios, like, for example, putting a tutu on your chihuahua. For everyday users, that means more believable outfit swaps and room makeovers, plus visible and Synth ID watermarks to clearly flag AI-generated edits. It's called Gemini 2.5 Flash image, and the code name is I think Nano Banana. If I'm not
That's what I was
mistaken.
looking. Like in the top
I
on
think so.
the browser says Nano Banana image editing.
Nano Banana. And actually, apparently it was already on LM Arena under the code name Nano Banana. Nobody knew where it was from, but apparently it was Gemini 2.5.
Wow.
And now I saw that in the Gemini app they renamed it again to Nano Banana. So apparently there was so much hype around Nano Banana that it became important to actually also name it like that in the Gemini app.
Yeah, everyone was like, "We want banana back." Maybe it's all the Monkey Patching podcast fans that like rallied around to make this change.
True.
You know.
And my first time trying it was on a picture of you, a bit in line with the codename Nano Banana. I asked it, like, here's this guy, I uploaded a beautiful picture of you, and I asked Gemini to put a banana in your mouth. And it looked like someone took a picture with you with a banana halfway up your throat.
I'm resisting my urge to derail the conversation and make comments.
Yeah, let's not do that. Let's not do that. I'm just talking about photo editing. But it's really like we're laughing a bit, but it's to me like it is a major step up from what the state of the art was. To me, so this is a major breakthrough, and it's mainly like because it's very precise in what you want to edit. Like normally, if I would have a picture of you.
But and then editing is just by prompting, or do you select part of the image? Okay.
No, it's just by prompting, yeah. And like most of these type of models before this was like I would upload a picture of you. I would ask, put a banana in this guy's mouth. Then I would probably get a picture back of a guy with a banana in his mouth.
Or maybe not even on his mouth, maybe like on top of his face.
And the guy would maybe have some of your facial features, but it would probably not be you, right? Like it was very hard to like keep consistent in what is already in an image and only change what you want to change. And this works for people. Like I've tried it also later with like changing backgrounds behind people and stuff like this. Works very well. But also like you can also say like this part of this color of that specific furniture in this room, change it to that color, or even change it to a different material.
Wow.
And it works really remarkably well.
I remember and my current employer, your former employer, let's say, I don't know if employer is the right word, but anyways, we also did projects with like styling parts of the furniture. Yeah. And back then it was like really, I was like, wow, it was wow, but like the results were very different. It was like,
if you look at it now, it's like very disappointing, right? But at that point,
exactly,
it was, wow.
Exactly. Yeah, at that point, it was like,
it's a chair and it's really in the color that I wanted.
And you can kind of see, oh wow, like it was really like you had to squint your eyes and imagine. But now it's really like now it looks like the picture was like that, right?
Yeah, now it's there. And to me, like I'm saying, like to me, this is like a major step in the evolution of these models. Like this is such a big difference from what we had a few weeks ago, and that also in a context where everybody for the last year has been saying that that there are no major breakthroughs anymore, right?
Yeah,
Like
that's true.
everything is only very, very small changes. But to me, this is a major breakthrough. And it's the same as what we discussed the last two episodes about the 3D world models. To
Yeah,
me,
that's
well,
true.
we can still see that there are these major breakthroughs that have a big or can have a very big impact.
I think and maybe for the people listening only, we're talking exclusively about realistic images, right? We're not talking about cartoons. We're not talking about animations.
Right. I was talking about realistic
But
images. Yeah.
that, I think that's the thing that was, I mean, I didn't try. I mean, I didn't see any examples. I didn't try either. But I think today there's a lot of good models that do cartoon or anime
Yeah.
style or these things, and I think the realistic images. That's when I also felt they fell a bit short, and I think
Mm.
this model is from your experience for the picture I saw, the examples I saw as well. This one looks very impressive,
Yeah.
right?
And everybody with a Google account can try it for free if you go to the Gemini app, either on your phone or in the browser. They are saying it's the usage is capped, but there have been a few sessions where I've used it extensively. I haven't reached the cap yet, and I'm not on a paid Gemini account at this moment. Probably like they're very lenient at this point just to get a lot of user interaction.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
can imagine that's worth something to them as well. But definitely try it out.
Indeed, it looks very cool, and I think also in light of what you're saying about the major breakthroughs, it also is looking from Google, right? The Genie 3, I think, was the first roll simulation, and the breakthroughs look like they came from not the text, right? From these other domains. And I think they also in this article here that I just skimmed through, they also give some examples of how you could possibly use these things, right? Like if you have I don't know, for fashion, right? You want to say put this person with this dress, now put them with this
Mm.
dress, and then like just kind of seeing how you would look like with this or that. So I feel like you could even get like this could even move forward the application space
True.
for
Yeah.
image generated with AI,
I think it
right?
will also fuck up some of the startups that have very much focused on this,
Yeah, for sure,
like outfit swaps,
for sure.
optimizing portrait images, like these kind of things that you now just get out of the box with this.
It's true, and I think it's when you say that, it reminds me a lot of early days of ChatGPT. How every time ChatGPT released a new feature, it would kill like hundreds of startups,
It's true.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I agree. I agree. What else do we have? We have China is running a different AI race, prioritizing practical, low-cost systems over America's moonshot chase for AGI, so artificial general intelligence. Beijing is steering funding towards startups, more smaller data centers, and rapid rollout across services from agriculture to healthcare. If superintelligence remains far off, this today-first approach could win, putting more everyday AI in our products long before any big breakthrough. So I had a look on the article as well. From what I gathered, right? Like basically the difference is they're emphasizing how the US is really chasing the AGI. They're saying there's
Yeah.
a lot
This
of
this
military value in all these things.
this moonshot goal, like let's put everything out there. This is what we need to achieve.
Yeah,
Everything
yeah,
is like in function of achieving AGI.
exactly. From what the article goes on is that China has more on the implementation part. Like it's not about having the AGI model, but it's about making sure that the stuff we have is already embedded in a lot of
Mm.
places like hospital and agriculture. And it also highlights a bit how in China the government is also sponsoring. They have a lot of money being invested on these startups to increase the adoption or like the embedding of the AI that we have today. When I read this through as well, I was also wondering how do we define AGI? It's a bit tricky because I mean I know they say like AGI could help with like military breakthroughs and like cure cancer and all these things, but to me like okay, how do you know when you get to AGI? How do we know we got there?
Yeah, it's a difficult definition. Eh? That's
Because
true.
like before we had the I think it was the Turing test, right? Which like that was the first time they were thinking of AGI, right? Like and the idea was if you the test was, and correct me if I'm wrong here, huh? Like you have someone talking to a chatbot basically, and then you have a computer and you have a human. And if the person cannot tell the difference between the human and the computer, that's
Mm.
AGI. Or not AGI, they didn't call AGI then, but that was like true artificial intelligence.
Yeah, yeah.
We're way past that.
I would expect as well. Yeah, it's
Right?
true.
So it's
Yeah.
like now AGI is saying like, okay, AGI is when you have an AI that discovers the cure for cancer. It's a bit,
Something that can work independently and alone and can find a purpose.
yeah,
Because and the thing here, like what the article highlights, is basically like US, everybody looks to be in function of reaching this AGI, while China today focuses more on what can we do with the AI that we have today, and really putting that much more in practice. And I think that we also see like this AGI timeline, like it keeps slipping. We hear a statement every time that it's going to be next GPT release will be AGI, or at least hints towards that, right? That is never there.
Yeah.
And like this China is taking more, or that's at least a bit the messaging that you get is like this, it's good enough and we try to put it everywhere approach. I think that is it's an interesting one to see. And apparently there's also like, it's a little bit of a reaction as well to the chip export limits. There's also there's some messaging on that. It makes it for them also just simply harder to super scale the training. So let's focus on what we can do with it today. So I think why people are talking about this now is also because we had the, what's it called? World Humanoid Robot Games 2 weeks ago, I want to say, a week ago in China. It was held in Beijing, where there were like, I think something like 500 humanoid robots. And it really shows like what is already possible when you combine AI, for example, with robots. And it was super impressive. And I think that's also what made people talk. I mean, I think everybody was a bit surprised, like, of the performance of these robots in these humanoid robot games. And like, also because of that, like, you also see this, China is able to put AI in things like robots, but it's also like it has this massive supply side push. So apparently, one of the robots that was participating in the event, I think it's from Unitree, the company. You can buy it for €6,000.
Ah.
Which was, yeah, and if you look at so you on YouTube what it can do, it's unimaginable, but it was unimaginable a few years ago. And I thought this would be unimaginable today to have that for €6,000. But
Yeah,
apparently China is able to do it, and I think it is potentially because of this different type of approach. Like, let's make sure that we can do something with it today. And one of the things that it apparently is also playing, because it's like a bit like China's a bit like quote unquote state-sponsored capitalism.
Yeah.
And the challenge that they have very much in China, which we also have in Europe, is that there is, I think, a lack of VC funding when you compare this to the States. But the way that China is solving that is that basically Beijing is filling this gap with public money. And it looks like they're achieving this, right? Like, they're successful in this.
I think they also, in the article, they also bring other examples of like high school and also hospitals and also agriculture, right? So they're really embedding across a lot of places. And to me, this also reminded me a bit
maybe the hospitals. I haven't actually looked at it. I heard it in an interview. There is apparently a full AI-driven robot hospital in Beijing where you can go and there is like no person there, like all robots.
Yeah, I saw that. I think I read that they were building something like this, but yeah, indeed, it was like fully fully robotic. Yeah. This also makes me think of the difference between like the research and the engineering, or like like how one is really pushing the boundaries to see what's possible, and the other one is pushing the boundaries to see how we can make this useful, right?
Yeah. Well, there's also, I mean, I think it's maybe the opposite statement than you're making here, is like there's also like there's some there's a lot of theorizing why how come that China is very good at this. There's also like a lot of key players, and I think it's around, if I'm not mistaken, around 30% of like the key like figures of the state in China are engineers by background.
Didn't know that.
It's way less in the US. And I think if we look at, for example, Belgium today, it's 0. And this might also play into these sort of things. Yeah.
Probably does, right? I think it probably does. I think also even just the fact that you understand some like of these things when you're discussing it, right? It makes, I would imagine it makes a huge difference. And the title of this article again is like, China has a different vision for AI. It might be smarter. Do you think it is smarter? What is your opinion on this?
It's a difficult one. But to me, the difficult thing is also like it's one doesn't go without the other.
Yeah, that's true.
I think, for example, we wouldn't have things like DeepSeek and what was the other one? What, Kiwi or something?
Kiwi, there's also Quen.
Yeah. We wouldn't have that without OpenAI. We wouldn't have that without Anthropic, right? Like it's based on these learnings. The question is a bit like, who is grabbing the application space more quickly? If you don't look at, give me a chat app, if you ignore that space, because it's probably today completely being owned by OpenAI. But if you look at like really industry or even at home appliances, it is probably China, right? If you look at, for example, and that's not that is of course way broader than just AI, but if you look at robotic installations in industry, if you look at the global world industry, 40% of installations is being done by China. Everybody else is small followers.
Oh, well, didn't know that.
So it's also like they already have this huge bandwidth in things that are relevant where you can very easily inject AI going forward.
But I'm also wondering, like, if you have to reproduce. So I think, yeah, like I agree with you, that the two things are connected. And I think it's also a bit, you're making a bet, let's say. But if you have to reproduce one, because I'm also like, a lot of these things are not going to be open, right? That's a bit the idea. True. But if you have to reproduce one, is it easier to reproduce the integration of these things or to reproduce the models? Not sure.
I think it depends a bit on the application space.
True.
Right? That is a difficult thing. And I think what China is simply very good at is manufacturing stuff and doing that in such a way that is super cost effective and scale up very quickly. And I think they are probably the best in the world at this. Like, and if these are things where AI is relevant, they'll probably win that game in the short term, right?
Yeah. True. Well, to be seen. But and also the other, like, I mean, maybe the last point I'll make on this as well. Like, what is AGI? I think that's the thing that, to me, maybe we need to define a bit better, because if we're always moving the needle, we'll never get there, which we have been moving the needle already, right?
Yeah, and maybe it's also a bit irrelevant in a sense. I think what the article basically tries to state is like, in the US, and this is very black and white, right? Like, but in the US, what they're doing is we need to get the next big major investment to have our next training cycle and to have even bigger data centers and to have an even bigger model, because that will be better than what we have today. And that the focus is very much like 80% on that and 20% on applications. And while in China, it's probably the other way around.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. They do make that point indeed. Like, even make the analogy with atomic bombs and stuff in terms of power being generated and all that. Yeah, it's true. But I think, like, I mean, maybe I'm also being a bit biased because the article talks about like the cure for cancer or military defense and all these things. But to me, it's a bit hard to really see, like, okay, when do we get there? What's the next step? And what is this? And is it really a race that you're going to get to a point and you're going to say, okay, I'm here and I have strategic advantage? Or is it always going to be something that you're going to be chasing, right?
If we only knew, right? I think we will get there at some point and that we will know.
Maybe. Well, yeah, maybe. But, I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. When you have your at-home robot suddenly being depressed,
you have to send it to like a robot therapist.
And to be talking about robots, like these humanoid world games, they also made me think, like we've been discussing, like, will there be job displacement because of things like ChatGPT? Like, I think when you translate this to a physical world where people/robots work with their hands, like it might even have a way bigger impact, right?
Yeah, that's true. I think, probably. I feel like this is a sector of the people who are always safe or like stable, right? But I think the more you have these things, the more.
And the thing is, just like there are a lot of things that we say, it's not possible to do this with AI. It's not possible to do this with robots, but everything is evolving so quickly. Like, today it's not possible for a robot to do your plumbing, but 20 years is a lot of time, right? We've seen major jumps in the last few years where they
I think, for sure. Like, if you look at these things as well, like you just talked about the humanoid Olympics or something.
Humanoid robot world game, something like that.
Yeah. It's like, if you're not that far, huh? So
it's actually worth having a look at like the highlights of those world games, because at some point, I think it's during a 1500-meter run, there is a robot that stumbles and it falls, and it loses an arm, and it
just keeps going.
And it scrambles back up again, and it starts going again, and you hear audience going wild. Like, it's a very human reaction to a struggle of a robot, basically. Yeah, wow. It's an interesting experience. It's worth having a look at the highlights.
Yeah, even when you say struggle of a robot, it's very still like it's it's anthropomorphizing, it's like,
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
it's like the
Yeah.
guy's like, I'll do it, the mission
Yeah.
comes first. All right. What else do we have?
Bear's creator is changing the platform's license from MIT to Elastic after copycat forks threatened the business. He says the new terms are almost the same, but ban running Bear as a hosted service aimed at stopping free ride competition. For developers, it's a nudge to balance openness with sustainability and to expect more source available moves as AI speeds up cloning. So Bear is short for Bear Blog. It's a blogging platform. I think it's the best one out there. You can test bearblog. It's the one where I host my personal blog as well. And
Art space.
sorry, Bart's.space. Yeah. And they were on the MIT license, and they moved to Elastic's one. I'm forgetting what the name of the Elastic one is exactly. Let me just see what. Yeah, I don't have the exact name of the Elastic license, but it basically says that it's more or less this
I think
Elastic license is more or less a sort of a copy of the MIT license, but it basically states that you're not allowed to run this as a service. So it's as simple as that.
it's called Elastic license. Like it's from
Yeah.
Elastic. They created a license.
Yeah. And it's just Elastic license, yeah. And he's stating that he's done this because he noticed that there were some copycats, basically office work that did no back contributions and basically were onboarding users and basically missing revenue for him. And I think this is also a good example of a very personal project. It's a one man show. He's super passionate about what he's building. He's always focused on open source. And it's just painful to see your work being taken and then not really as a learning point, but just to do exactly the same and have someone run it and just basically take your customers from you. Very hard earned customers.
Indeed. Also, he also comments on with agentic AI, right? AI assisted coding. It's even easier. You just like go add some stuff, change some themes and stuff, and then boom.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah,
To me, it's very understandable what he's doing. I was at the same time a bit wondering, like, because you have Gen AI coding, like, it also becomes like, even if it's an Elastic license, it is somewhat easy to circumvent this. And maybe it's not perfect today, but it will probably be perfect in 2 years. Where you say, okay, look at this source available repo. I want something like this. It needs to look different. The code can't look like it, but it needs to have all the same features.
yeah.
And maybe you built it in a different stack, right? Like no one will see anymore that it came from that code, but it's like very, very minimal effort to build something off of something that is source available.
And it's also
And
like
it's also,
if I looked at a code and I really just, I mean, okay, imagine now that the AI is not AI, it's actually a person. I actually read the code and I have the same reflex, like, this is really cool. I have some really interesting features, but I don't like the stack. I'm going to do my own stack and I'm going to build it from scratch. Would that be violating?
no, but I think to do that is a bit, it is maybe the same thing,
Yeah.
but it feels different, right? Like if I wouldn't use Gen AI assisted coding, then I look at this source available and I'm super passionate about building a blogging platform, but I'm opinionated because I want to do this in a different stack. But I do care about the features that Herman, he's called, has built here for Bear Blog. And I'm trying to understand how he did it and to learn from that. And based on that, put a lot of time and effort to make my own platform.
Yeah.
Which in the end is exactly the same, but it feels different than just saying to Gen AI, look at this, learn from this. I want exactly the same features, but doing it in this different stack. And then after an hour, have something that is up and running.
Then it's really just about the effort, right? Because I think on the difference between the two is that one of them you
Or the
actually
ethics.
put the effort. Yeah. I think to me, the ethics are a bit the same on both. They're both equally unethical. I think the main difference between them for me is just that one, you're not putting any effort. You're really.
Yeah, that is the difference, yeah.
Yeah, that's the difference, right? Like in
but
one.
I don't think there's like in the first example, I don't think there's anything against being inspired and learning from an open source or a source available project.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's anything unethical about that. I mean, I think that's why you also make the code. I think they even mentions, that's why it was source available.
Yeah. Well,
right?
It was even just MIT license up till very shortly.
And
it's sad that this needs to happen, but it's understandable.
Yeah. But I think it sparks the debate of like open source sustainability and all these things, right? Like how can we still support? I think the world depends on this. So how can we support the open source projects of the world, right? Maybe one last question: Why is Bear your favorite blogging platform, Bart?
I think it's a very fair priced one. I think it's also I like, without having the good arguments for it, but I like these minimalist type of blogs. There are very few frills. It's just Markdown that you type. It's super easy to configure. It's opinionated enough to just work well just out of the box. I'm very happy about it.
Okay. And Bear is you hosted there or no?
It's a hosted service, yeah.
It's a hosted service.
You pay
Okay.
a very small monthly fee. I want to say $3, but I'm not sure.
Cool. So where people check it out and support the project, right?
Yeah.
What else? Anything else you want to say on this one, Bart?
No, let's continue.
No. Let's continue. So what else do we have? We have Cloudflare dug into AI crawler patterns and found training drives most bot traffic while referrals back to publishers are tiny. In one snapshot, Anthropic's crawl to refer ratio hit 5,000 to 1, OpenAI 887 to 1, and Perplexity 118 to 1. Hence the blunt line: no click-through, no eyeballs, and no ad revenue. If you publish on the web, this means tighter bot controls, clear content signals, and new rules for how your work gets used. So this is from Cloudflare. I think we had an article before on Cloudflare and how AI bots crawling their websites actually changed a bit the game, right?
Exactly,
yeah. And maybe a quick recap from that is now OpenAI can actually look at your site and crawl it once, which doesn't give you value because there's no ad, there's no one buying stuff. And then you can just, instead of directing people to your website, it can just kind of give you the answer, give you the content without necessarily giving you the traffic and the ad and the marketing, quote unquote, right?
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I think the article was also from Cloudflare, I want to say. So what is this one about, Bart?
Yeah, Cloudflare has been focusing a lot on AI crawlers recently. So, like you said, they already did some reports. They've also added some features. I actually moved my DNS configuration for a domain to Cloudflare today. And it actually, while configuring it, immediately asks if it needs to block AI crawlers or not, if it needs to set up a robots.txt specifically to instruct crawlers. So it's doing a lot around this. This specific article goes into the new insights that they have around AI crawlers. And there is, if you look at the second link, Marilo, in our notes, it's the AI Insights Cloudflare Radar. And there are a lot of things that you can learn from that. Like there's really like, how much HTTP traffic is there per bot? What is the crawl purpose of these bots? What is the crawl to refer ratio? Like how many times do they crawl versus how many times do they actually send someone to your page? There is also, I found it very interesting, there are AI bot best practices. So there's for example, it shows like, is this bot verified by IP? Does it use distinct bots by purpose? So is it a distinct bot for training or crawling, etc.? Does it respect robots.txt? And so, for example, to zoom in just there, these best practices, we always have this, I think in the community, it sort of lives that like Anthropic is the good player, right? Yeah. But if you just look at the crawl to refer ratio, Anthropic is by far the biggest abuser. Like this is like 33.7 thousand crawls for one referral. For example, the next biggest one is OpenAI, which is a fraction of that. It's 908, still a lot, to one referral. But it's a fraction of Anthropic's. And also, if you look at the AI best practices, almost all the big ones, like they're, for example, verified, their bots are verified via IP. Anthropic's one is not. Doesn't respect robots.txt. Almost all of them are respected. Anthropic, it's not clear if they do. Right? Like it's to me, this shows a bit of a different picture than that we have in the quote unquote community on Anthropic.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's a bit. It almost makes me a bit sad because it's like your favorite, you're a good guy, then it's like he's not perfect. It's like.
And what also surprised me there is this small graph on generative AI, the popularity of services. I think the number one doesn't really surprise anyone is ChatGPT, and then the number two, it goes either between, it depends a bit on the month or the day, it goes either between Anthropic's Claude or Character AI.
Never
And
heard of
I
it.
personally had no clue that character AI was this big.
I don't even know what character. I never used it.
Character AI is like your virtual friend, can even
Really?
be your virtual girlfriend, Mela. But
I
like
don't know what you're trying to
these are
say.
these virtual avatars that you can talk to basically, and that can also crawl the web for you. But I had no
No
idea
idea.
whatsoever that it was that big.
Wow. Yeah. And this is an interesting thing. Gives a science backed, right? Like it's not vibes.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, interesting stats. So definitely visit their AI Insights Cloudflare radar and check it out yourself.
Indeed. Maybe few questions for you, Bart. You switched DNS to Cloudflare. Why does one switch DNS providers?
Because I use Cloudflare for all my DNS management, and because it's very easy and it's a bit of a central hub.
Ah,
It's
okay. So
easy to switch. It's always easy to switch your name service to Cloudflare, so you can configure your DNS there. But I don't always buy my domain at Cloudflare.
I see. So you recently bought a new domain and then you moved to Cloudflare.
Exactly. I manage the DNS via Cloudflare. Yeah.
Yeah. And then which domain did you buy?
For me to know, for you to find out.
Okay. Okay. And Cloudflare, when you moved, you noticed these new features about AI? Like
Yeah, they
about
were
the AI
there
where?
like a few months ago
Ah,
when you configure a new domain.
okay. Okay. And then for the old ones, you still need to go there and manually change the things, I
I
guess.
guess so. Yeah, it would be interesting to see
And
what they did with the default settings, but I doubt that they switched to default blocking. I think that would be weird.
yeah, it'd be very, I feel like it would be very disruptive.
Well, there's also, I mean, people also need to keep this in the back of their mind. There is a monetary incentive here. What they want to be, they are for a big part of the internet. They are a bit the gateway slash gatekeeper. What they want to do is at some point allow website or domain owners to basically ask a fee for crawlers to crawl them. So there's also this monetary incentive of them to say, oh wow, look at how big this crawl versus refer ratio is, and you should really do something about it. So I think people should not forget about that part either. Like there's something in it for them
Yeah.
to point this out as well. But it's good that we have some actual statistics on this now.
I think so too. I think this is, I think it's good that it seems that they're very active on this debate. And I think this is something very disruptive. Right? And I think ad revenue on the web is a big thing. And I think AI is very disruptive there. So I think it's good that they're giving options, they're providing, they're educating as well. That's something I hadn't thought about before. But then I started hearing more and more. It's like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. Right. So yeah, interesting, cool. And I like to see the data in, curious to see how this whole thing is going to unfold as well. A lot of businesses, a lot of people's, a lot of jobs are related to this as well. So it's all going to change. Who else's jobs are going to change, Bart?
Aspiring artists are using AI tools like Suno and Udio to launch careers, sometimes landing record deals or millions of streams. Platforms and labels are still wrestling over licensing and credit, even as services say a chunk of upload. Deezer packs at around 18%. AI made. For listeners and creators, the takeaway is simple. Great ideas now matter more than gear. But the legal lines are settled.
This one is AI music.
This is AI music. This is we have some numbers. I was wondering how they get the numbers. It's not that easy, I think. But these are if you know, you know. These was a lot bigger in the past. But it's a bit of a Spotify alternative, right? They estimate that 18% of all new music uploads is AI generated, which is a lot, right? Like I mean, that's 2 in 10. That's a lot.
Even
I
though
don't
it's
think
probably
it's that
like
easy to recognize that. I think it's hard to recognize it. So I wonder how accurate the numbers are. But I mean, it's still, if it's 5% less or 5% more, it's still a major chunk. Yeah. I don't know what it means for the music space.
Yeah, I don't know either. I think I've always said that music or art a lot of times is about how it makes you feel. And I think a lot of the times by knowing that it comes from a person, it makes you feel differently than if it came from a machine. But I'm not sure. Like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of the times the line is not so clear, right? Just because a machine created the chorus or something, maybe a human actually curated it, right?
Yeah, and especially if you compare this to something like, which is already a lot of computer behind it, like something like EDM.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, where there's a lot of, like probably 80% of what comes out has been digitally produced.
Yeah.
And also if you compare it to something like hip hop beats, where traditionally you see a lot of parts of those beats being sampled from older records, which is a bit like the commentary on these music generators, like you're using our material to do something.
Yeah, that's true.
You see this in other music genres as well. I think the difference is, like, if you look at hip hop, for example, like if you use a sample from something where there's a copyright, you need to clear the sample first. So you're paying the original artist basically. And I think that is a legal lines that you don't have here, because probably the original sample does a lot to the output, but it's not exactly that sample anymore, right?
Yeah. And it's hard to know exactly how much each sample contributed to this output.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I do think that in the heart of it, though, it still is about people are finding the easy way without the effort. And I think that's the thing that rubs people wrong in a lot of ways. Like, you should be rewarded for the effort you put in.
Yeah.
This guy, like the guy in this picture here, Oliver McCann, he does say, like, I have no music talent at all. I can't sing. I can't play instruments. I have no musical background at all. And he has 3 million streams on some platform. And he actually have signed a record label. Yeah, with Hallwood Media.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, it's insane. I mean, in the article, they also talk about like how people, they still write the lyrics sometimes, but then they have like, they spend hours, like 9 hours to prompt the AI to get to do what they want. So maybe it is done a lot of effort still, but it's a different type of effort. But then I think that the thing that sits weird is like the fact that people that don't put the effort to really learn the skill, to really hone it, now they're having the same benefits in a way, right?
Yeah. I think when it comes to this aspect, at least, I'm not to the copyright aspect, but to this aspect, I think I'm an AI optimist, where I see this more as a tool to make the analogy again, like with EDM or making beats, like you have a lot of tools in this space. Take, for example, FL Studio, which is very big in the hip hop scene. It's actually by a Belgian company, Imageline, probably the biggest production tool in the hip hop space. And you have people that can't play any musical instrument, that can't sing, but are great, like extraordinarily good at making good beats.
Yeah.
And the only major difference here is that it's a completely different tool. And it's a tool, of course, that came on very quickly and is a bit of a shock to the industry. But
Yeah.
to me, it's not that different to something like FL Studio.
I agree. I actually, but and that's the second thought I usually have. I agree with what you're saying. I also think that at the time, a lot of the electronic music as well was perceived the same way for similar reasons, right? Like you don't play the guitar, you have no skill. Now you're just pressing buttons like DJing. It's like, what are you doing? You know? So I agree with what you're saying. I think it's a very different tool, but I think it's still a tool. But that doesn't still, again, like you said, doesn't exclude the copyright thing, right? Like maybe these tools were only possible because they infringed a lot of copyright laws.
Yeah, I think that is still a very difficult discussion, and it's a bit like me listening to an old record and being inspired by that, but that times a billion.
Yeah, exactly.
And you just get it out of the box, and that feels unethical. And
yeah, and
honestly, like with the lawsuits that we see in the first conclusions around that, we had a recent one on Anthropic, reading all these books. Or using a huge amount of books, basically the LibGen and ZLib books, book set, where they ruled that basically reading them all was fair use, but obtaining them in a unlegal manner, that is a problem.
Yeah, I remember we discussed this as well some time ago, right? Like the using the knowledge is okay, but the acquisition of that knowledge is not okay.
Yeah. And that, I mean, if you translate it to this space, like that basically means that Suno or Udio, like they should basically do one stream for every song that they use in their training set. But that, like, economics wise, it still doesn't feel fair, right? Like I just do one stream of everything. Like it doesn't benefit one of these single artists at all. Like the benefits are marginally almost zero, right?
Yeah,
if you just do one stream.
Exactly.
There's still, I hope it's something that we see evolution in.
Yeah, a better outcome, right, for the music producers, because indeed, yeah, it doesn't feel like the balance is right.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
What else do we have? We have AI influencers. Financial Times charts the rise of the AI influencers, virtual personalities that brands can spin up fast, cheap, and endlessly on message. The piece notes that, and I quote, computer-generated profiles are gaining traction with brands, but may pose a threat to real-life endorser, end quote. With early campaigns already blurring the lines. If synthetic creators scale, marketers may save money, but audiences will demand clear labels and humans will have to lean on into authenticity. So what is this one about, Bart?
So the Financial Times, basically, they report that more and more and more brands are basically spinning up these CGI/synthetic personas that are very fast, that are very cheap, and they're basically always on. They're always ready to message you back when you send them a DM. And it's starting to also like raise displacement and transparency concerns for like versus basically human creators. A little bit of numbers here, like the numbers they're mentioning how big the space already is. Like they estimate the full space to be worth today, well, it was 2024 number, 6 billion. They estimate it to be 45 billion by 2030. So it's a very, very fast moving market. Do also have some, let's say, early signals that this not only exists, but also is generating profits. Basically, we have a Spanish virtual person that apparently earns up to 10,000 euros a month as a virtual influencer,
Oh,
basically from brand work.
and maybe this,
But
they might
luckily,
say,
humans can still outperform on engagement.
yeah. But when you say like a virtual, like a Spanish AI influencer, is it the creator of that influencer is a Spanish person?
No, I think the persona is a Spanish persona.
Ah, the persona is Spanish. Okay, so you don't know
But
actually where.
sorry.
Like you don't know exactly where the AI is created, managed,
No,
or
exactly,
anything.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's a difficult thing. Like it also it creates a bit of questions about authenticity when you see these type of things. And I saw this article passing by, and the reason why I actually pushed it in here as one of our things to discuss is because I notice very much when I am on Instagram, but also on TikTok, that there is a lot of AI generated content.
Yeah.
But like a lot, and I think it really boomed after what's the name of the model, the Genie 3 model? Am I correct? No, that's the 3D
Is the
World
world
model.
generations. Yeah.
Yeah, but the video generation model of Google that also has the audio generation.
Vio 3 or something.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. After that one, it really started to boom, and I don't think it's. But now I'm just doing from my specific bubble. I don't think it's an overestimation to say that 10% is AI generated of videos,
I
of
don't
shorts,
think so.
basically.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think there's some clearly AI generated ones. There's like with the animations and stuff, or with the audio. Like you can tell.
Yeah,
And
well, you say you can tell, but the other day I was sitting next to someone and I said, "Hey, look at this." And the guy was saying, "But what's wrong with it?" But I said, "It's AI generated. Isn't that bullshit?" And he didn't see
at
it.
all.
And I think we also, because we are very active in the space, we overestimate how easy it is to spot this.
Yeah, maybe. We also, we see it evolving, right? And we look for the cues for like this is AI generated. And yeah, for people following, this is the Google View 3 model. I think this is the one you're saying, right? But very, very
And
realistic.
also, what you see at the same time, I think is also a trend of the last year, maybe Trump influenced or not, is that there is much less focus on let's make sure that this is safe. Let's make sure that we can't generate deep fakes. Like it's become very easy to make deep fakes, even with like the new image manipulation model now by Google. Like it's very easy to generate famous people next to you in the picture. Like all these things become easier. So it's a very slippery slope, I think.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think, yeah, another thing to look out for in a lot of ways, right? And I think it's another area that I think people and I think kids need to be educated. And I think we talked about this in the past, how teachers now they're going to be in a place where they have to teach kids skills that they never learned, right? Like as kids as well. Like how do you look for artifacts on these videos to see that it's AI generated? How do you know
Yeah,
about fake
exactly.
news? How do you verify information, right? So yeah, I think let's see. If anyone is listening or hearing me say this on our shorts, this is not AI generated. Just to be clear.
I can vouch for you. You're real.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Unless we're both. All
We're in
right.
a simulated world. Maybe everyone is AI.
Maybe everyone except me is AI. All right. What else do we have on that note?
We have.
Is it my
Python.
turn? No, it's your turn. It's your turn. Go for
My
it.
turn.
Sorry, my bad.
We have Python. Python the documentary. Cult Repo's new feature-length film tells Python's origin story through the people who built it, from early experiments to global ubiquity. Premiered on August 28 with a live YouTube chat, the about 85-minute documentary threads interviews, community milestones, and how Python spread well beyond the web. For tech history fans and teams hiring Python talent, it's a crisp primer on why this language keeps winning. I don't have too much to say on this. I think for anybody that uses Python actively, I think it's very much worth a watch. I watched it 2 days ago.
You liked
There were
it.
a lot of... Sorry?
You liked it.
I like this, yeah. I think it's very much worth a watch. There were, even though I've used Python for a very long time, I've actually had the first O'Reilly book about Python 3. I bought it immediately when it came out.
Really?
So yeah,
Wow.
I was there early days Python 2. Today is a very long time. But even the story before that, how it came to be, how originally it was not going to be Python, but it was going to be the ABC programming language. I thought for a very long time, actually, Guido van Rossum was at CWI, but it was for a very much shorter period than I thought. There's also discussion on how the Python organization, software organization, what's it called again?
BSF, Python Software Foundation.
Thank you. How it came to be, also how the company behind Zope, which was at one point a very big Python framework, is probably one of the key drivers on why Python today is even still there.
Wow.
They really stepped up at a very crucial time. So it's really worth a watch. Yeah, and also
cool.
what I also thought was interesting. I think most people involved in the Python community, they also know about PyLadies. It's actually Guido van Rossum that played a very active role in making sure that there were women also part of the core developers.
Wow.
He was the person that mentored the first woman core developer himself. It's a very interesting watch.
Very cool. Yeah,
And it makes me like the Python community even more.
Nice. That's nice. I heard that I think the trailer came out on PyCon. Yeah, I'm curious. I'll definitely give it a watch. I think it's always interesting as well to see how these things come to be, right? I think again, everything's a bit of a rabbit hole, and I think to see how something gets built, something gets shaped, to see like the things that go beyond the programming, right? There's like the organizational part and all these things. So I'm very curious for sure. I'll definitely give it a watch. Then we can chat about it more. Alrighty. Last but not least, Stanford researchers analyzed payroll records and find early career workers in AI exposed jobs are already bearing the brunt of change. Since generative AI took off, and I quote, early career workers aged 22 to 25 in almost AI exposed occupations have experienced a 13% relative decline in employment, end quote, with cuts clustered where AI automates tasks. If you're just starting out in exposed fields, the signal is to upskill toward augmentation and chase roles where human judgment compounds. So this is a paper, right, from Stanford. Mm-hmm. I didn't actually read the whole paper. I just skimmed through it.
Paper.
Yeah. But I think he talks a bit on something we speculate a bit, right? Like how AI jobs, how jobs are affected by the rise of AI.
Yeah, we actually felt it a bit already last year that it was harder for junior people just graduating to find a job. This is one of the bigger research papers looking directly into this thing, like what is the impact of AI on whether or not there is job loss. It's a bit of a doom story, maybe.
Yeah.
Because it's not a positive one. Even though apparently, and I'm a bit paraphrasing here, like the overall jobs seem to be up, but where there is exposure to AI, and then there is a bit of a difference between automation and augmentation, I'll come to that later, but where there is exposure to AI, young workers are basically lagging, right? And you mentioned the 13% decline in young aspiring people headcount. When it comes to specifically software developers, is even down around 20% from its 2022 peak. 2022 was of course post-COVID, was also very, very high, but still they also, like they explained in their paper, how they try also to correct for these COVID effects, for system shocks, and even when they correct for it, apparently you still see the same pattern where overall jobs are up, but junior people are having a harder time finding a job. They also make this comparison between automation versus augmentation, which of course is a bit of a nuanced one, right?
Yeah.
But it comes from Anthropic's economic index, something that we also discussed a while back, where they make this definition, and where you see that if you're in a field where AI can cause automation, you really see a large decline in junior numbers. When they're in a field where there's augmentation, you don't see this impact, basically. So
And I
that's also
think, so
interesting.
basically like replacing reduces jobs and augmenting you don't see. Even though I would expect also a decrease, no? Because like if you are augmented by, and I'm thinking really productivity. If you're augmented by AI, you probably can be more productive. So one person can do the job of 3 people now. So either you have more job or you have less people needed.
So just to give some concrete examples here. So what is automotive heavy, they mentioned, for example, accountants and auditors, really analysis, like in a very structured manner of, for example, financial numbers, but also software developers, like we've discussed the AI generated coding a lot. Information clerks. When it comes to these type of examples are apparently have a big impact when it comes to where there is basically a lack of junior employment. With augmentative examples, there's, for example, and it's very varied. There's maintenance and repair workers that are able to do their work more efficiently, probably, so they can do more, I guess, or better quality. There's also this example of registered nurses that are probably using something like ChatGPT to up their knowledge, or I don't know how this translates exactly to the day-to-day work. There's also the example of, like, if you're a computer or information system manager or an architect, which, by the way, is probably not really a junior role, but like it also like it empowers you, right? Like it empowers you in that role, something like ChatGPT. So yeah, I also have this feeling like these examples, like automative heavy versus augmentative heavy, it's also like it depends on what is the state of the technology today.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, take it to the extreme, a registered nurse, if robots are perfect,
Yeah,
with our discussion of earlier, like maybe that also becomes automotive heavy, that field, right?
true. I think I'm also wondering, I mean, you're talking about nursing, there's the physical aspect, but there's also the procedural more, right? Like someone has this condition, push this medication, person has this reaction, push this, which in a lot of ways, I think maybe maybe not AI like LLMs, right? But like a artificial system could already be more efficient,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
In the sense of like the procedural knowledge is always there. There's no fault. There's always things by the book, right? There's no panic. There's nothing. So, which I also think, even with medical, like doctors, medical imaging diagnosis, right? I think AI has also a potential to disrupt those, which I also know that caught a lot of people by surprise, because there was also the assumption that the not highly intellectual jobs are not going to be the ones that are going to be replaced by AI or by automation in general, right? Which is not what we're seeing. Like, maybe it does not have, it hasn't really become true yet, but like we see potential there. We see chatter, we see research, right? That puts those jobs at risk.
Yeah, and what is also mentioned in this article is like you have a lot of different trends playing at the same time, right? Like we're in a post-COVID where there was a lot of hiring immediately after COVID. You're also in this space where economic or geopolitical stability is very few and far in between. So it's hard. Like I think all of these kind of things also make companies hesitant to hire. I think it's easier to postpone junior hires, even though you might have an issue in the long run. Then.
Yeah, I agree. I think, again, we talked about it like last week, I want to say. I think junior hires are also the ones that we take more for granted, because if you miss this train, the next train will come.
Yeah.
later, right? So yeah.
But, but what this article is trying to say, and they corrected a lot for these trends, like that these juniors might be the canaries in the coal mine, where you basically see that like the canaries in the coal mine, for people that don't know, like back in the day. Well, there's still coal mines around the world, right? But we don't have any here.
We know
But
Canaries,
back in
no.
the day, they used canaries in a small cage in the coal mine. And when they died, people made sure to get the hell out because that was a sign of carbon monoxide. And here, like these early career workers, like these juniors, like they might be a sign like something is wrong. Like we need to do something because jobs are down for them, wages are flat. Like something is happening, right? Maybe we should not close our eyes to this.
We shouldn't wait and say everything will be fine. Yeah. Yeah, true. And do you agree with the overall sentiment then that we should do something?
I think it's very hard to say what you should do. I think that is a
Yeah.
difficult thing, and this goes like because what you've so many discussions on this. I think the extremists know we just need to move, like go very far, very quickly ahead, so that we know what we can do and let's fix it after. You have voices like aiming to regulate and basically slow down until we've tested the waters and that we have some guardrails in place. And you have other extremes like where we say, okay, shit's gonna hit the fan anyway. We need something like universal basic income. I think the difficult thing of all of them, like, they all have a lot of pros and a lot of cons.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I do think,
or at the very least, it's very hard for a large part of the population, and in this case, it's probably not a large part of population of a country, but of the world,
yeah,
to stand behind any one of them. I think that is
yeah,
a difficult thing here. Because if we say, maybe Europe is not a good example because we're slow as fuck on this, but if we would say that we just let's slow down, let's regulate everything, let's make sure that we take one step at a time, like we're completely outpaced, like on every side, right?
yeah. No, that is true. That is true. But I do think, at least, I do think we are paying attention. I think we are, like I'm saying we as the world, right? Like, are asking the right questions as well. So I think at least we're not going to be caught by surprise, right? I think, like you said, I don't know what's the right answer, but I think there's going to be many different answers. And I think we're also going to learn from each other. And I think we'll find a solution. I don't know what it is, but I think we'll find a solution. This might be my optimist.
Well, let's be optimistic.
Optimistic side there.
There's enough in the world to be gloomy about already, right?
Exactly. Alrighty. And I think this is all the topics that we had for this week. Anything else you wanna say before we part ways, Bart? Before we
Not
call it a
necessarily,
pod?
but it makes me think. What I would like to discuss at some point is what's Europe's future gonna be.
My future.
No, not Europe. Oh, this is my accent. What is the EU's future gonna be
EU.
in AI? I'm a bit pessimistic, but we see also major initiatives. Like we have sort of a similar example to the Chips Act in the US. We have forgot the exact abbreviation. It's a long abbreviation in the EU, but you have initiatives coming out of this, like OpenShift. They're trying to basically build AI accelerators, so really on the hardware side. But I'm a bit skeptical on the future. It would be interesting to talk to some people on that and do a deep dive on that.
I agree. I think, I personally don't feel like I have enough knowledge or information to comment much on this. I think most of what I would say would be speculation, but I do share the concern, right? I think because this is the kind of things as well that you start to fall behind, and then the gap just the margin just widens, right? And
exactly, yeah.
It's not something that if you just wait to catch up, and that's fine, right? So I share the concern. Will be interesting to talk to more people and what are the main differences and what are some solutions being proposed, right? I think, of course, the EU's values are very different from what US is, and like, is there a future where we can kind of keep the values and still move fast and still not fall behind, right? I think that's and there's a lot of people thinking about these things as well. So, So it would be cool for sure. If you know someone, if someone listening knows someone, let us know. Be very, very curious. And that's it. Anything else you want to say before wrapping it up?
Thanks for hanging with me, Marilla. Thanks for listening to all of you out there.
Yes.
And,
thanks, everyone. And see you next week.
Listen, see you all next time.
Yes. Ciao.
Ciao.